Hello, good morning, my dear students. Welcome to this virtual online class of APPA Public School. I am a social science teacher, PAULSON Samson. So today is the third part of this chapter, right? So we are taking the history part for this grade 8, dealing with a very important chapter. Today's date is 4th of August 2021, right? So it is from trade to territory. Yesterday, just going for a quick recapitulation, right? So yesterday we have discussed about the Battle of Plassey, right? So and today we will be discussing about the Battle of Buxar. Before that, we'll show you a PowerPoint presentation of the slides. Right? We'll have some slides to show, so we'll discuss about it there. Okay, done. Initiative from day to day, the company establishes power. Okay, these are topics. Decline of Mughals, we have discussed, right? East India Company comes to East. Yes, this is what we have discussed, right? And EIC, East India Company begins trade in Bengal. That also we have discussed. The Battle of Plassey is already discussed, and the outcome, what happened. So after that, so we have discussed today. Buxar and company become Nabobs. Tipu Sultan, war with the Marathas. So these are topics which are covered in this chapter. So it will be few topics from Battle of Buxar to this. So we'll be covering very soon. And the last will be conclusion. Now, my dear student, this is a court, a trial session of one of the Governor General Warren Hastings in England. So he was being charged of some, maybe for bribing, he was charged. So he was tried in the court of, the court in Britain. Okay. Now, my dear students, this is the slide. So you can see this. This is a comparison of the map. My dear student, this is a map of 1797. This is a map of 1797. You can see here this orange one, right? So this is what the Mughals, and here the 1797. You can see this one, right? So this is the color which is acquired by the Britishers. Now here again the changes you can see from 1797 to 1840 AD. You can see the changes. Right, so slowly and gradually the Britishers rose to power. Now here, 1857. This is the map of 1857. You can see here. This was the total Mughal, and here the Mughals began, and totally you can see here only few parts were left in India, and the rest was ruled by the Britishers. Okay. So now, my dear students, you can see here, this is the map of India, right? So here, Mughal Empire, this is in 1700. Where did the Mughals have ruled here? You can see this, right? Okay. Now, independent Watan Jagirs. You can see here Bengal, Awadh, Gujarat, Malwa, and here Hyderabad, Maratha. So now these were the independent Watan Jagirs. Some of the territories were handled by some of the members which were nominated by the Mughals. So now after the decline, after death of Aurangzeb, so these independent Watan Jagirs, right, or maybe the overlord or the landlord, or maybe the one zamindar, so they became independent and they started to rule independently. Yes. Next. Okay, now my dear students, so when we are talking about the battle of the Nawab of Bengal, so now we have the Nawab of Bengal. So first Nawab of Bengal was Murshid Quli Khan. Murshid Quli Khan was the Nawab of Bengal, and then followed by Sadat Khan. This is Sadat Khan, the Nawab of Awadh, and this is Asaf Jah of Hyderabad, right? So he was the one who founded this Hyderabad Nizams, right? Asaf Jah. And now here, after this East India Company, you can see here, 1600 they came to India, 1600. And East India Company was a mercantile company. It means they do trade. It is silk, cotton, spices, and buy cheap and sell dear. Yes, it is a mercantile company. Then again, after this, we will be discussing Bengal is going on. Battle of Plassey in 1757, this we have discussed. Battle of Buxar 1764, which we will be next. Diwali. I have said about Diwali, so we'll discuss more about Diwali next. So here, Tipu Sultan and Mysore and Marathas, right? Subsidiary alliance. Now, these are some of the diplomatic ways which the British started to rule. Doctrine of lapse. Okay, now 1757 Battle of Plassey. Now here, my dear students, here it is the pick of Siraj-ud-Daulah and the Governor General Robert Clive, right? So now Battle of Plassey was fought between Siraj-ud-Daulah versus East India Company, right? Next, Battle of Buxar, 1764, right? So here, my dear students, what happened once before this? Now, my dear students, once the Battle of Plassey was fought, what was the outcome, right? So the outcome was Mir Jafar was made as the Nawab of Bengal. So though he was a puppet in the hands of the Britishers, it means he didn't have the freedom to take his own decision, right? So and also he was ordered to pay 5 lakh rupees every month, which was a very huge amount, and he didn't enjoy the rights what the Nawab used to enjoy, but he became a puppet in the hands. So he got frustrated, right? And after him, he was retaliating or he was fighting against the Britishers. So he was put down from the throne of Nawab, and Mir Jafar, after Mir Qasim was reinstated, Mir Qasim was made the Nawab of Bengal. So Mir Qasim also initially agreed with the terms, but later on he also opposed the Britishers, right? So again we can see here, he also opposed the Britishers. Now again, Mir Jafar versus East India Company, and Mir Jafar was accompanied by Nawab of Bengal. This is Ali Khan, Jafar Ali Khan, Mir Jafar, right? So now again you can see Shah Alam II and Siraj-ud-Daulah. So Shuja'ud-Daulah, my dear students, Shah Alam at the time he was the Mughal emperor. He was the Mughal emperor. He involved himself along with Shuja'ud-Daulah, the Nawab of Awadh, and also Mir Jafar. These three all combined together and fought the Battle of Buxar. So now here it is, Nawab of Bengal together, Shah Alam II. Shah Alam II was the Mughal emperor, and Shuja'ud-Daulah was the Nawab of Awadh. So these three all joined together hands and fought against the Britishers. Okay, so now this was about the, now my dear students, with the Battle of Plassey, my dear student, and after the Battle of Buxar also, now the rights, now the Mughal authority gave rights to the Britishers, that is Diwani, Mughal authority. So now they became supreme here, power in Bengal. As a result, they got the authority of Diwani. Diwani means right to collect taxes. Diwani means right to collect taxes. Diwani means right to collect taxes. So now what is this? So now, my dear students, well, initially the Britishers were as a traders, right? So they like to buying and selling and to maintain a huge army and offices. So they require money. Expenses were too much. So they were borrowing it from their mother country. It may be importing of gold, silver, right? So and again by this and again they were buying some of those spices, cotton clothes or silk clothes which they were buying here in India cheaply, and again selling back into their into Europe, we can say, at a dear price, right? So this was doing well, but once they achieved this, once they got the right of Diwani, right? Diwani. So now the import from the England totally stopped. The import is means coming off from foreign country to India, right? So they totally stopped, and now independently they were ruling. Britishers started to rule independently, and they were maintaining their military, their officers, and paying salary work, and maybe again trading also they were doing on their own, which the revenue they collected from Bengal, right? So Bengal was a very huge state, you can say, huge place. It was a presidency also. Bengal was a presidency. You can we learn in this coming. Okay. So now, my dear students, again, uh, now 1765. Okay, it was Mir Jafar. 1765, Mir Jafar died, and after Mir Jafar, so the company decided that no longer there will be a Nawab. Instead of Nawab, we will become the Nawab. So after that, 1765, there were no more Nawabs. It was only the British officers or the governor generals who had ruled, right? And they enjoyed all those rights. Now again, uh, in the year 1765, 1765, the company gained the rights to collect revenue, that is Diwali. Okay, hope so. A very important term, my dear students. Diwali, they got it in the year 1765. Okay, so now the company becomes become Nabobs. NABOBS. So now this is the anglicized version of the Indian word Nawab. Anglicized version of the word Nawab, right? So the British called themselves Nabobs, and as well as the Indian version is the Nawab. So now Nawab usually Urdu word, right? So now company thus acquired more power and authority. Now the company officials wanted to live like Nawabs, and thus forced the actual Nawabs to give land and the vast sum of money to company officials. So now they started to demand money. Now they started to collect the revenues. More and more they have put demand, right? And also now officials who managed to return with wealth began to lead flashy lives and flaunted their riches, who called as Nabobs. Now again, my dear students, in this one more time, which has been mentioned in the textbook, Robert Clive, my dear students, Robert Clive, who came to India in 1743 at the age of 18. He came to India in 1743 at the age of 18. Okay, and he left India in 1767. Okay, he left India in 1767, and once he returned back to England, so he had amassed a wealth of pound 4,014 lakh 1,102, right? So he has amassed a wealth. So now the British Parliament, they suspected him, they accused him of taking bribe, right? So though he was acquitted, it means he was left free of the charges. But in 1772, he committed suicide. He committed suicide. This is about Robert Clive. Why he committed suicide? Also the same reason, because of this reason, as he was accused of the charges by the Parliament, by the government of England, you can call. Though he was left free, acquitted, left free, okay, free from the charges. He has been freed from the charges. So now, my dear students, okay, so now here, now the company, now it started to expand its territory. How? So they stopped to fight, right? Military was also, but now they wanted to tackle Indians and the Indian kings into a diplomatic way. So now for that they have introduced many of those policies. Many of those policies were introduced by the Britishers. So one of these policy was subsidiary alliance. So now subsidiary alliance, what is the, see, these are the policies, subsidiary alliance, which help to annex the territories. Annex, it means to take control over forcefully. Yes, now the Britishers, they introduced this subsidiary alliance, SUBSIDIAR Why? Subsidiary alliance. So what is this subsidiary alliance? Okay, so now here, subsidiary alliance, according to terms of alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed forces. So for example, agreement will be made with the king who wants to join or who wants to merge or who wants to take the help of the Britishers. So what the British have put on this condition to the king or the ruler, it means the king or the ruler is not allowed to have their independent armed forces. Okay, he is not allowed. The second point, and they will be protected by the company. It means the ruler was protected by the company, but they have to pay for the subsidiary forces, additional forces, which the Britishers would deploy in the to the king, right? And then, if the Indian ruler failed to make the payment, if the Indian ruler failed to make the payment, then part of the territory was taken away as penalty. So now every month the king has to pay some amount. So it was very hefty. It was a huge amount. So many of the kingdoms, they initially joined with the subsidiary lands and almost all ended up losing their control on their territory because everything was controlled by the Britishers, right? So now this is what one of the policies where the Britishers started to apply. Okay, so before this, before going to this, okay, now my dear students, it is a war with the Marathas. Now, my dear students, so like the Britishers were expanding, and there were many kings. Kings were there, or the rulers were there. Those who were very much stronger than the Britishers, and absolutely the Britishers cannot like faced very difficult in overpowering them and establishing their rule. Right. So here one of those kingdoms it is the Marathas. War with the Marathas. Now you can see here, my dear students, here. See, third battle of Panipat, 1761. So now in Panipat also, the Marathas, like Marathas' aim was to conquer the whole of India. So from the southern, from the western to the northern, they went, and there was a battle. Third battle of Panipat was fought in 1761, when the Marathas' dream of ruling Delhi was shattered. Though they have lost many lives, though the battle was, you can say the Marathas didn't win, though, but their power to rule Delhi was shattered, right, with this. And when they were returning back, man, they have lost many of the soldiers here in 1761, and again they have returned back. So now Maratha king, my dear students, were under different chiefs, right? You can call them as Peshwas, belonging to dynasties such as Maratha dynasty here, my dear students. Scindia, Holkar, Gaikwad, and Bhosle. These were the renowned or well-named dynasties of the Marathas. Now, and again, my dear students, now all these chiefs or sardars, right? So they were held in a confederacy under a Peshwa. It means all these have to report to this Peshwa, that is the principal minister. Okay, and now it was, and their administration unit was based on in Pune. Now here, Maharji Scindia and Nana Patnis were two famous Maratha soldiers and statement of the late 18th century about the Marathas. So now the Marathas, my dear students, AngloMaratha War we call them. Maratha War was fought between the Britishers and the Marathas, and there were a series of battles were fought. Right, the first 82 with the Treaty of Salbai. My dear students, now when the battle ended, right? So they both come together and they sign a peace treaty, and here that ended with the Treaty of Salbai. It means the control of Salbai will be under the British. Again, you must see there was no clear victor. It means in the first battle of this Anglo-Maratha War, 1782. So there were no clear victory. Right. Now again, the second Anglo-Maratha War. So it took place from 1803 to 1805. 1803 to 1805, right? was fought on different fronts, resulting in the British gaining Odisha and the territories north of Yamuna River, including Agra and Delhi. So this again had a loss. 1803, the Marathas lost the territory of Odisha and also territories of the Yamuna River, especially Agra and Delhi. So now again the third, you can see here now again after this 1817 to 1819, the third Anglo-Maratha War. Third Anglo-Maratha War. Now with this came the decline of Marathas. Right? The Marathas were crushed, their power was crushed. The Peshwa was removed, and here you can see he was sent away to Baitur near Kanpur with a pension. The company now had complete control over the territories south of the Vindhyas. So this is all about the war with the Marathas. Right? So now we can see here, my dear students. So they have four Sardars, like the chief dynasties of Scindia, Holkar, Gaikwad, Bhosle, and they had a principal minister, that is, they have to report under the to the Peshwas. Right? Again, here you can see here, first battle was first war, Anglo-Maratha War ended in 1782. Second was started 1803 and ended in 1805. The third, which ultimately crushed the Maratha power, that is from 1817 to 1819. Do please also remember Treaty of Salbai. The first Anglo-Maratha War ended in 1782 with the Treaty of Salbai. So here, my dear student, here, my dear students, again, so before going to that, so here we will discuss about one more empire, right? So one more war we will discuss here. One more war, that is the, we'll start with Tiger of Mysore. Tiger of Mysore. Okay, I know. Sorry. Okay. Yes. Tiger of Mysore. Okay, I suppose many of you know who is referred as the Tiger of Mysore. I hope you all know the answer, right? If the answer is Tipu Sultan, then you are absolutely right. Tipu Sultan. So now Tipu Sultan was a very ambitious person. He was a strong ruler, king, right? So now when the Britishers, right? So now before Tipu Sultan, his father was Hyder Ali. So Hyder Ali was you can say a general, you can say, in the army of the Wadairs. So now they were given the right, so they were controlling the territory, right? So Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan both were responsible for the establishment of their power. Okay, and it is been said that these two were very powerful, that the British has faced many problems in bringing down. As a result, there were a series of war which was fought between the Britishers and Tipu Sultan and Hyder Ali. Okay, right? So now Mysore grew very powerful under the leadership of powerful leaders like Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan. Okay, Mysore controlled the profitable trade of Malabar coast, consisting of pepper and cardamom, and even it is sandalwood trees also. Right? Okay, and the Sultan stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper, and cardamom from his ports and disallowed local merchants from trading with the company. It means the company was not allowed, and the local traders were disallowed to operate or do trade with the company. It means these two, Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan, were a threat to the Britishers as to remove them or to bring them down. So they had to wage war with this father and son. Okay, so now here, my dear student, it started with the first battle, AngloMysore War. First AngloMysore War, 1767 to 69. This was the first battle. It was the AngloMysore War. For Maratha, it was the AngloMaratha War, and for Mysore, it is the AngloMysore War. So there were a series of battles were fought. Totally 4 battles were fought. The second one is from 1780 to 1784. Second battle, the AngloMysore War, and 1790 to 1792. This was the third battle, and 1799 the battle. It was the fourth AngloMysore War. So where ultimately Tipu Sultan was killed in the battle of Srirangapatna. Right, the place is Srirangapatna. Now, again, my dear students, now Tipu Sultan, why he is referred as the Tiger of Mysore? He is been fondly called as Tiger of Mysore. I hope you all know the answer, because once the story goes like this: once Tipu Sultan, along with his French friend, okay, it may be a French general. So once they were traveling in the forest, so suddenly a tiger attacked. A tiger attacked them, and Tipu Sultan, with his bare-handedly, killed the tiger. Bare-handedly, with his own hands, he killed the tiger. So as of a result, he was fondly called as the Tiger of Mysore. Right? In Hindi, it is something Shere Mysore. Right? Okay, Tiger of Mysore. This is the story behind Tipu Sultan. Why he is called as the Tiger of Mysore. Right? Okay. So now this, with this, like the series of battles, war were fought, the AngloMysore War. This is the first AngloMysore War, second AngloMysore War, third AngloMysore War, and this is the fourth AngloMysore War. And here, my dear students, in this 1790 to 1792, so when the battle ended, so now the sons of Tipu Sultan were taken as hostages. 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 So now hostages are one who have been taken to get some, fulfill some demands, right? So they have, it is just like a surety or a guarantee, so that Tipu Sultan again will not wage war on the Britishers. He should not wage a war. If he wage a war, then again his sons were taken as hostages, because of the reason he should not wage war nor fight against the Britishers. If he wage a war, then his sons will be killed, right? So here, and ultimately on 4th May 1799, in the battle of the fourth AngloMysore War, Tipu Sultan was killed in the battle of Srirangapatna, and then after this, immediately one policy was imposed on the Wadayers. Okay, my dear students, this was for today's class. So we'll end the today's class. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.